What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Alex at the Magus Aeon, or the Aeon Eye, or whatever Aeon you prefer. It's been a while since I've done a video, and that's due to a number of different reasons. Just, life does happen, or life tends to get in the way when it comes to, researching different important topics here. But I am planning on making some more videos in the coming weeks here. But before we get into everything, I do want to talk about this. So my book, The Sun Lady Unveiled, is still uh, on for sale. So if you are still interested, you can definitely do so by going to the PayPal link on my website. So if you want a soft cover, it'll be $25 plus ship and handling, and then of course $30 or $35 for my hardcover. So that sale is still on. If in case you guys are interested and if you want an autographed copy, just let me know, and I definitely send that over to you as soon as possible. So yeah, so a lot of different things has happened since we last or I last put a video on my channel here. So I did put out an article. This was back in March called 222: The Number of Destiny, and I think it was around this time is when the whole Ukraine-Russia conflict erupted. A little before that, yeah. So, and in this article, I go into a lot of different things. I won't read everything word for word, so you guys can read on your own, of course. But this is sort of like a summary of what I wrote and what I'm looking at now, as well as into the future here. So yeah. So here's a interesting tweet from Donnie Darkin. So he's I don't know. I guess he's like a Christian truther, I guess. So he thinks that, Donald Trump is really the Antichrist, but I mean, I doubt that. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot of occult synchronicity surrounding this guy for sure. But I mean, as far as like him uniting the world under one world's government, I really doubt that. But anyway, but anyway, he put out a tweet. This is back in February about this this 2022 conjunction of Pluto, and it says here astrologically Pluto brings destruction, rebirth. Rome fell when Pluto returned. So, and of course you can make that equation that America is really Rome, ancient Rome, or even Babylon. There's a lot of uh, Christian conspiracy theorists out there claim. And of course, there's a lot of reasons for that. If you want to read the Book of Revelation, uh, literally, sure, uh, or even like the Old Testament prophecies as well. But anyway, I'm not going to really get into it now. But so yeah, so I wrote that Pluto, of course, corresponds with the Greek god Hades. And interestingly enough, he's also associated with Kether on the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. And then I quote from The Pillars of Tubal Cain, which is a really good book, by the way. And um, if you can find it online, or at least a copy of it, because it's very expensive now. But anyway, so Nazar Jackson, Michael Howard, they associate the Archangel Azrael, or the Angel of Death, with Pluto in the Judgment card of the tarot. And we'll get into that soon here. So 222 is actually the number for Uriel in the Strong's Concordance. And Uriel uh, is an important angel for sure. Um, and we'll see as well. So then a quote from this chick, Deborah Waldron Fry. So she gets into this as well. So I've been seeing two twos for a long time, as many you have also. I was led to look at the Strong's Hebrew for 222, came up as Uriel, the flame of God. And of course, Uriel is one of the angels that does appear in the book of Enoch. So he appeared to Enoch, the prophet, and took him on a tour of heaven and hell, and of course he also warns Noah of the coming flood. And then I get into Melek Tas and the Yazidis, which are a sort of like a pre-Islamic uh, cult, I guess. They do worship the angels for sure. The peacock angel Melek Tas, and of course he is associated with Lucifer. But what's also interesting though about Melek Tas is that the Yazidis actually believe that Melek Tas is actually made up of these three different archangels, um, which is Gabriel, Mikael, Uriel, and Azrael. Well, sorry, the last three would be Michael, Uriel, and Azrael, not Gabriel. But anyway, so I just thought that was interesting. And then I get into what the Pillars of Tubal Cain talks about with this, with this Yazidi lore. Um, so it says here, so the authors of Tubal Cain, they quote this 1920s occultist W.B. Seabrook, who was told by a Turkish officer about the Yazidi priests who serve as stewards for a chain of 7 towers, and they're modeled after Tower Babel, so they're spread across Asia for broadcasting occult vibrations to control the destinies for the world of evil. In other words, they're Cliffothic magicians. Uh, then it says here, well, if you don't know what the Cliffoth is, that's the Kabbalistic tree of death. I mean, that comes from Kenneth Grant, uh, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that another point, another video maybe. But it says here, however, there is no proof that such towers exist. Interestingly enough, Uriel is equated with Raziel, the Kabbalistic archangel that gave Adam and Eve the Sefer Raziel, so a book containing various magical Kabbalistic spells after they fell from Eden. So you let you read that. Let's see. And then there's something I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, I'll read this from the encyclopedia entry for Uriel, and they talk about why he's important. So it says here, according to the Midrash Rabbah, or Numbers, Uriel is one of the 4 archangels whom God placed around his throne. So in the Kabbalah, including the Zohar, these angels of the presence are identified with the 4 holy beasts which Ezekiel saw in the Merkabah, and the figure of Uriel with that of the eagle, and sometimes that with that of the lion. So these 4 archangels shed their light on the 4 winds of heaven, and the light which is shed over the west. Now, the most perfect light is that of Uriel. Now, the Zohar ascribes to Uriel a special function in connection with the sacrifices at the time of the first temple. The altar, which is called Ariel, is thus named because of Uriel, who descended in the likeness of a lion to crouch on the altar and devour the sacrifices. It says here, at his descent, the hearts of the priests and the children of Israel were gladdened, for they recognized thereby that sacrifices had been accepted with favor. Now, the appearance of Uriel in the altar fire caused all those who could see the flames to suffer a change of heart and repent. So, yet for Israel's sins, Uriel's primary strength was taken from him. And instead of the fire containing divine inspiration of a strange fire descended on the altar, which took the form of a demonic dog. So, in several passages of the Zohar, Uriel and Nuriel, the same angel, seen under different aspects, which is called Uriel under the aspect of mercy, and Nuriel under the aspect of rigor and severity, or in other words, Geburah. So the angels, they do contain this aspect of divinity with them, so that like they're both Chesed, which is mercy, and Geburah, from the Kabbalistic tree of life. And you can watch that on your own here. So yeah, but anyway, when it comes to this judgment card here, so I talk about this tarot card from and how it applies to this year for the year 2022. Now, if you remember, of course, this guy talks about Pluto, right, and how it's connected to 2022 and judgment. Now you see what's happening now with with CERN and the Guidestones being destroyed, and all these globalist politicians quitting. Sri Lanka, and the list goes on and on. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of chaos going on with them, with those people. Uh, let's see what it says. So now, regarding the subject of tarot card judgment, here is one description. This card depicts what would imagine the last judgment would be in the various forms that takes in many mythologies. The image in the judgment card shows women, men, and children who are rising from the grave to respond to Gabriel's trumpet call. The outstretched arms symbolize that they are ready to be judged by the universe. They are about to meet their creator, their actions weighed, and find out where they will spend the remainder of eternity, in heaven or in hell. The massive tidal wave in the background signify that judgment is unavoidable, and the judgment will be final. Judgment is ruled by Pluto, who is on the world's ruler. There are echoes of this card in death, for they remind us that everything comes in the end, comes to an end, and that a new beginning is coming. So, kind of connects to the idea that the death is swallowed by the beginning. So it's kind of like the Ouroboros symbol. So it says here, according to Strong's Concordance 222 in Greek, so it means to pour upon for 2022. So this is a clear reference to the angelic bold dungeons of Revelation, number 6 in particular, and perhaps even the wisdom mixing bowl of the Hermetica, which the initiate is said to be baptized. So now 222 in the Hebrew Strong's Concordance interestingly means Alexandrinos, so a variation of my own name. So what does all mean? Who knows? But the synchronicities cannot be ignored. Now, so of course, one of the cities in the Ukraine is actually named after Saint Michael. Oh, and by the way, so now Gabriel does show up in the judgment card. Now I do know, or I suspect, Raphael shows up in the Lovers card. Um, I think Uriel shows up as the Hermit, and then and I think Michael shows up on probably one of the Justice cards. I'm not sure. I have to look at it again. I need to brush up on my tarot. But anyway, let's see. So it says here, it is clear that the ruling elite family fully intend to trigger a financial government meltdown in the West in order to bring about Daniel's fourth beast power via the UN, I mean. But yeah, I actually put out a video called Dream Vision of a Black Cube, but YouTube decided to delete it without forewarning. So, I probably said some things that the YouTube masters don't like. So I probably won't get too deep into all this right now, because don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, then here's an excerpt that I got from the Testament of Solomon. So where King Solomon, he interrogates this demon called Beelzebub, and he goes on to describe his role uh, in the end times, basically. So it says here, and the chosen servants of God, priests, and unfaithful men, I excite unto desires for wicked sins and evil heresies and lawless deeds. And they obey me, and I bear them on to destruction. And I inspire men with envy and desire for murder and for wars and sodomy and other evil things, and I will destroy the world. So, well, I can think of a lot of different ways that's manifesting in our reality now, don't you think? And then, anyway, so then I get into the esoteric meaning of Death in Vegas through a music video, which you can look at on your own. Let's see. Uh, oh, so I get into William Cooper. So he wrote a book called Behold the Pale Horse. So he's sort of like well, he's the guy that sort of like kicked off the whole um, truther movement, really. And then, just several other people have latched onto that whole concept. But anyway, here's what he wrote about World War III. So he says, at the events at Fatima in the early part of the century were scrutinized, so on the suspicion that it was alien manipulation and intelligence operation was put into motion to penetrate the secrecy surrounding the event. Now, the United States utilized its Vatican moles and soon obtained the entire Vatican study, which included the prophecy. So this prophecy stated that if man did not return from evil and place himself at the feet of Christ, the planet would self-destruct and the events described in the book of Revelation would indeed come to pass. So the prophecy demanded that Russia be consecrated to the Sacred Heart. It said that a child would be born who would unite the world with a plan for world peace and false religion, so the people would discern that he was evil and was indeed the Antichrist. So World War III would begin in the Middle East with an invasion of Israel by a United Arab nation using conventional weapons, which would culminate in a nuclear holocaust. So most of the life on Earth would suffer horribly and die as a result. Now, the return of Christ would occur shortly thereafter. Then it says here, when aliens were confronted with this finding, they confirmed that it was true. So the aliens explained that they had created us through genetic manipulation in a laboratory. They stated that they had manipulated the human race through religion, Satanism, witchcraft, magic, and the occult. Now it says here they further explained that they were capable of time travel and that the events would indeed come to pass if the conditions were not met. Then it says here, let's see, later exploitation of alien technology by the United States and the Soviet Union utilizing time travel in a project named Rainbow confirmed the prophecy. So the aliens showed a hologram which they claimed was an actual crucifixion of Christ, so the government filmed the hologram. We did not know whether to believe them. Were they using our genuine religions to manipulate us? Were they indeed the source of our religions, with which they had been manipulating us all along? Or was this the beginning scenario of the genuine end times and the return of Christ, which had been predicted in the Bible? I do not know the answer. And then Cooper also goes into say, which is pretty interesting here. It says here, a man cannot be trusted to safeguard what little is left in the way of natural resources. So technological development and economic growth will be severely cut back. Man will be required to live like his ancestors. Those who learn to be self-sufficient and can adapt to the absence of many of the things that we take for granted today, such as automobiles, will get along fine. Others will suffer terribly. Man will once again conform to the law of the survival of the fittest. Then it says here, no one is going to like the loss of individual freedoms guaranteed us by the Constitution and Bill of Rights. I do not like or agree with this, with what is. So intellectually, I know that people will not solve the problems that we face unless they are made to do it. So that is a sad commentary on the common man. But nevertheless, it is true. The New World Order is evil, but very much needed if man is to survive long enough to plant his seed amongst the stars. The paradigm shift and starseed are the only legitimate long-term answers. And so that's pretty interesting that he would say that paradigm shift and starseed. And I'll get to that, why that's important. So it says here, Cooper mentions other disturbing plans, such as global war, not being ruled out, and releasing deadly Black Death-like microbes into the public. Oh boy, I think I might get into trouble with this video. So this was suggested by Dr. Aurelio Pesci, or Pesci, whatever you pronounce his name, the first presidents of the Club of Rome at their population control conferences in the 1970s. Now, could Cooper's paradigm shift in starseed have anything to do with the Cathar, or the Cathar prophecy of 2021? Possibly. We are the new eon after all. So, now if you guys remember, I did a whole video about all this last year. And I get into this article I wrote, which is loading here. It's called Cathar Prophecies, Lion Gate to the Age of Wormwood. So let's see, let's pull it up here. So yeah, here we go. So I'm gonna post a link to this article. I think it's very important if you guys haven't read it yet. It does definitely dovetail to what we're experiencing now and soon to experience in the future here. Um, Now I don't know if if the Book of Revelation will actually happen like it's described, but I do think it's definitely relevant to astrology and to the occult as well. If you read people like Aleister Crowley or John Dee, so they take Revelation to a whole another level here, as you can see. Um, but yeah, you can look at that on your own here. Uh, Now, I am working on a new project. Can't say too much yet, but if you want an idea how all what it's about, then I would definitely take a look at this article that I wrote. This was maybe back in 2020, so I published it back in 2020 when I first published my book, The Sunlighting Unveiled. And you can find this online for free. And I get into you know, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life in depth. But in this new project, I will be getting even bigger or more or deeper depths, I guess, however you say it, in that book. So now to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about here, I'm going to play a little clip here that I found that I think is very, very interesting and would explain a lot of different things of how what we're experiencing now as a collective in this multiverse or megaverse or this multiverse of madness, as Doctor Strange would say, right? So I'm going to play this real quick here. So I know it says here this article has been retracted, but I'll play it anyway. Anyway, so you can definitely read what I'm looking at or researching uh, in the next, I don't even know, maybe the next 6 months or so, whenever I finish this project of mine. I can't really say too much else about it. There's just a lot of research I'm looking at. But there's a couple more things I want to show you guys, and then I think we'll be into this video. So, so I thought this was interesting when I was looking at this glossary from a Jung website, Carl Jung. So Carl Jung, if you don't know who he is, he's a very famous psychologist that worked in the 19 from I don't know, from the 1920s to 1940s, I guess. I kind of forget when he died, but he was very famous for unearthing or helping fund unearth the Nag Hammadi library or a lot of these Gnostic texts. But anyway, I thought this is kind of interesting when it comes to inflation. And inflation is something that we're all experiencing throughout the world. Now it says here, inflation is sort of like an archetype. So it says here, so the inflation has a lot to do with the ego, right? Which is sort of like this parasitic sort of uh, simulacrum of consciousness. It's very vampiric in nature, and everybody has one, but to different degrees, right? Now I thought this was interesting. So it says here, the arrogance and unconsciousness that overtook the light-filled demiurge, who forgot about the Pleroma and his followers, who believed themselves children of the true God. That sounds interesting. The heresiologists also criticized Basilides and others for taking themselves for the Messiah or for the highest God. Now, according to Mead, Simon Magus referred to a daemon that could take possession of a person by pretending to be a soul. It says here, according to Origen, Celsus warns against identification with an inflation by the magic powers of nature. So care, however, must be taken lest anyone, by familiarizing his mind with those matters, should become too much engrossed with them, and lest, through an excessive regard for the body, he should have his mind turned away from higher things and allow them to pass into oblivion. For perhaps we ought not to despise the opinion of those wise men who say that most of the earth demons are taken up with carnal indulgence, blood, odors, and sweet sounds, and other such essential things, and therefore are unable to do more than heal the body or foretell the fortunes of men and cities, and do other such things as relative to this mortal life, or sorry, to relate to this mortal life. So gnosis actually heals inflation. Those then who know these things have been freed from the principalities who form the world, or the archons, right? Now, when it comes to gnosis, uh, this is how some of these Gnostics defined it as. So this connects to individuation, become a consciously whole individual. So it says here, always the inner experience of individuation is what the mystics called the experience of God. That is a psychological fact, and it is why the process of individuation has always been appreciated as the most valuable and important thing in life. So to get to this point, you have to, in order to ascend, you have to descend, and this is what even the Bible teaches. The New Testament, especially in Luke, when Jesus talks about going to the lowest room and to wait there, and then eventually be called to come up higher. By a higher principle. Whether you identify that with your angel, with Jesus, whatever, Mary. But anyway, now it says here, gnosis is defined as realization of completion, perfection, and wholeness through the inner contemplation of divine powers, things, and planes of existence. So it's a pursuit of gnosis through conscious encounters with imaginal beings stationed at various levels. It says here, man teaches the gnosis we are endeavoring to recover from Hippolytus, who's a church father, is subject to generation and suffering so long as he remains in potentiality. But once that this imaging force is accomplished, he becomes like unto God, and freed from the bonds of suffering and birth, he attains perfection. This robe of power is presumably the highest principle, or highest spiritual body, or principum individualis, which participates of the divine and human natures, which is to say opens up the realms of the divine world to man and makes him a partaker of eternal being. So quotes from the Seven Sermons of Young. So yeah, I'm not going to read all this stuff here. You can read on your own, but I thought this was interesting though. So let's kind of skip here. So it says here, some Gnostics believe that gnosis could actually influence the pleroma. It says here, the Father, being unknown, wished to be known to the aeons, through his own thought, as if he had known himself, he put forth the only begotten, the spirit of knowledge, which is in knowledge, yet that which sees and is seen cannot be formless or incorporeal, but they see not with an eye of sense, but with an eye of mind, such as the Father provided. So that the alternative was to fall unconscious under the sway of the archons in their deep sleep, right? So let's go back to this article that I wrote. Let's kind of skip down here. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of mention that. I thought that was kind of interesting. So let's see. Oh yeah, so this is the star card from the tarot. So that connects to this aeon that we're in now, right? So I wrote here, the Masonic motto, Ordo ab Chao, is a loaded one. It refers to the doctrine of evolution. It reaches all the way back to the time of the Babylonians, where the tales of Marduk defeating Tiamat, the chaos mother dragon, and creating the known universe from her corpse. I have a feeling that the spirit of Tiamat survived and she's hungry and ready to take revenge. Similarly, this also happens with Gaia. It did with Typhon against the Olympians. This is reflected later in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, with Michael casting out the seven-headed dragon, as detailed in my book, The Suddenly Unveiled. So if you've read my previous entries for Welcome to the Unveiling, you will see that we've entered into the Age of the Star, which is the same as the Age of Wormwood, Age of Aquarius, after all, the woman is holding the stars of the water, who is, along with 7 stars of Pleiades, a clear reference to Aquarius. It is also interesting that the star tarot card is associated with both honesty and harvest. But let's see. So yeah, then again, so is this a synchronistic reference to the end of days harvest of the wheat and tares Jesus warns about in Matthew? So occult doctrine of union of polarities, such as seeing the Kabbalistic Zohar, is the basis for the unveiling and the temporal union of heaven and hell, and world events are leading up to this ineffable moment. So now Raziel names means the keeper of God's secrets. Jesus in Luke 8:17 tells us that nothing is secret and that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid and shall not be known and come abroad. So Daniel 12:4 tells us of the prophet Daniel to seal the book into the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased at the end of days. So at the beginning of Daniel 12, Michael serves the role of initiator of the apocalypse, as discussed in Welcome to Unveiling. Michael has a similar role in 1 Enoch as well. Could all this refer to unveiling of Kabbalistic knowledge from not just the Book of Raziel, but from other secret texts that are lost to us, such as the Book of the Seven Seals of the Cathars, mentioned by the film director Richard Stanley in my Cathar Prophecies article? Or perhaps it's the synthesis of all these divine secrets. So yes, it definitely connects to this project I'm working on now. So yeah, here we go. And here's Lindsay talking about the end of the world, right? Here's the comedian. Let's see. Here's another interesting tweet that I found. Someone comments on this one from Donnie Darkened about 222 and Biden. Let's see. 222 equals 666. Build back better. The COVID pandemic's over. Start the war. Now you're starting to see what's going on here. So there's Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum. Is Bill Gates transitioning? Or yes, Bill Gates is transitioning. So anyway, there's one more thing I just want to show, and then I'll be done for this video. So yeah, hopefully this will load. So I'm gonna put up my I'm trying to bring up my Twitter here so you guys can see. And then let's see, let's get it to load. Here we go. So I'm gonna play this video now that I found. It's from the Cult Rejects. This is the Queen lining up the Tree of Life and activating DNA strands. So that's the Queen of England, of course. Then she touches this globe, crown thing, Kether. It's the recreation of the DNA of Adam, the new Adam, Adam Kadmon, to connect to the multiverse, the Tree of Life, right? Pretty crazy. Like, I can only imagine what that means, but definitely has a lot of implications of what we're going in this multiverse of madness. But yeah, that's about it. But I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye. Peace.